The biggest myth is that we are fragile. And I think we can go deep with this, but we don't necessarily need to. The sense that we're fragile. And I think a few things stem from this. I brought up chiropractic. Like I have so many chiropractic friends, people I trust, people who do great work. But I think as a whole, there's this holistic, this big problem that we can like crack you back into place, or you're out of alignment, you're back in alignment, right? Similar to this mechanic problem. And, oh, your back is a little shifted. Now it's not, right? And I think if that were the case, it'd almost be looking at us like we're made out of Play-Doh.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Expert. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as a founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Kevin. And Kevin, we're going to be talking about a few things, including kind of what physical therapy is and how people can use it, and how it's not a total fix, not intended to be a fixer, but rather a guide to help you heal your body, and kind of what to do and when and what are the right things, and all those good considerations. So it should be a great conversation. And with that as a quick introduction, welcome on the podcast, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks so much, Devin. I'm excited to chat with you.
Absolutely excited to have you on. So now, before we kind of dive in or jump into a bit of the topics at hand, why don't you take just a minute or two to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them or share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you didn't listen to our first conversation, just about the inventive journey and my journey up to this point, it's a much more in-depth picture than I'll paint here of my background. But I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. Been in Columbus for about 2 years, and I'm a physical therapist. In my previous life, I was a mechanical engineer, and so I bring a lot of that mindset and specialty into what I do now as a doctor of physical therapy. And so that's something that I think is really unique in the field and helps me stand out as a physical therapist. And I own a physical therapy and wellness in business here in Columbus, Ohio, with my business partner Kenton. We're located just on the east side of Columbus, and we function as a one-stop shop for health and wellness. So for gym, group fitness classes, personal training, recovery suite with cold plunge sauna and all the fun stuff, and then in-house physical therapy where Kenton and myself, really build out or fill out this unique one-stop shop model here in Columbus. So it's been a fun ride to this point, and now I'm excited to talk more about physical therapy, get in the weeds with some stuff.
Awesome. No, definitely a great introduction. And as you mentioned, so we had you on our sister podcast, The Inventive Journey. So definitely encourage people to go check out that episode and get hear the full journey from Kevin. But for the topics of today, so kind of maybe to kick things off just a little bit, I think, unless people have been through it and actually done physical therapy, people may have, heard of or heard the term, or, know someone that maybe has gone through to that, but haven't experienced it themselves, and not, don't have a entirely maybe clear or understanding or perception or correct perception of it. So if you were to kind of maybe take a step back just a little bit, maybe give us a bit of an introduction. What is, kind of physical therapy, and kind of what does it include?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think I'll start with like this traditional sense or what we see more and more people understand physical therapy as, and then I'll zoom out to view or to talk about how we view physical therapy and how it should be approached. So I think this traditional approach of physical therapy, or what it's like broadly understood as, is a response to injury, pain, surgery, anything that is keeping you from your normal everyday activities, taking that and getting you back to those normal things and helping you work through the pain or the injury or post surgery and stuff like that. So, this could look like anything from rolling your ankle to getting back surgery after a herniated disc and everything in between and all sorts of stuff like that. So, our job as physical therapists are to help you get back to the things that you want to do or can no longer do. And so, for so long, people viewed physical therapy as just this very reactive industry where, okay, something has to happen to me. Now I go to physical therapy, or I have to have this big, significant injury in order to participate in physical therapy. And we tend to look at it as a little bit different. So what we view physical therapy as is really this place and this more of like a partnership, really, and I'll get into this more, but a partnership of optimizing your health and wellness. And so, in many ways, yes, it is reactive when you do have an injury, when you're dealing with pain, either acutely or stuff that lingers for long periods of time, or you have a surgery. Like that is exactly what we are here for, is to help you get through those things, get you out of pain and back to the things you love. And that is 100% part of it. I think the other thing that we try to do is and extend beyond traditional medicine is say, okay, let's figure out how we can not only get you out of pain, but like feeling good and do the things you love and feel confident doing them. And then even if you're not in pain, like can you prepare yourself for the rest of your life, for aging, for things that are coming your way? We work with a lot of, active dads or moms that are going to have kids, and you got to carry your kid around all day, or you are hitting your upper ages, right, and starting to see some of the effects of aging. So one of the things we talk about with a lot of our patients and people we work with is this proactive side of things. And I think across the board in healthcare, especially post COVID, you're seeing this more and more frequently in medicine. So we try to take this not only reactive approach, but proactive as well, where, okay, even if you're not injured, you can come see a physical therapist. And we have this, expert vision minded like experience to get you in a spot where you understand your body, you feel confident in your body, you know what you should be doing to prepare for the next stages of your life, whether that is performance or longevity or just life in general, and really just help people like cumulatively feel good and with their bodies. And I'd say like that's in general what physical therapy is helping you become the healthiest version of yourself physically. And we also tend to work with people more on the mental, emotional, spiritual side of things as well, just because we're a private practice and can do that.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, kind of to build on top of that, one of the things you mentioned a bit when we'd chatted a bit before the podcast was that that people sometimes probably incorrectly come in thinking, hey, I go into physical therapy, I attend the sessions, and it will fix whatever my pain is or whatever my mobility issue is or other issues that they're dealing with, and that while it can be a aid or a guide or an assistance. It's not a total fixer, and it's just a
Mm.
show up and it will solve your your life's problem, so to speak. So what is kind of the proper mind frame or framework that people look at when they or should look at when they're approaching physical therapy?
Sure. So I think I hear this more times than anything else, but some people will come up to us and say like, "Hey, I really need you to fix my shoulder," or "I need you to fix my knee. It's really been giving me problems." And then we take this mindset into physical therapy or into healthcare. And I think most people view physical therapy as like a mechanic shop, right? Where your car is making some funny noises, maybe something doesn't feel right when you're turning, you take it into the shop, they replace a part, twist some screws, send you on your way, and you're good. Well, the hard part is humans are not machines. We're not cars. I know we use these analogies a lot, especially as an engineer, I use them, but like we are not machines. And that's not quite how healing works in the same light of fixing a car. And so people come in and say, and have this mentality like, just fix me, like just fix my shoulder, as if I'm going to just like come and do something, sprinkle some like healing magic dust on your shoulder, and then it's going to get better. Not quite how it works in the human body. Humans are like very adaptive in our physiology and like from all the way to the cellular level, we will always respond to the stressors that are placed on it and adapt to them, right? So if you never work out in all of your life, you're going to have frail bones and small muscles, right? But if you work out every day and you work hard and run and do all the things, you're going to have dense bones and strong muscles. And so that's a very simple example, but our bodies adapt to what they do to them or what stressors you put under, rather. And our role is not necessarily to replace the bolts and to, change out the parts and fix you. It's more so, what can we do in your routines, exercise, daily routines, all throughout your life to place you in the right environment with the right stressors so your body can heal itself? Okay, so I think this is like the biggest overarching difference that we view physical therapy as is we are not fixers, we're guides in the healing process. And so through and through in research, there's this concept called natural healing, right? And like natural progression and like if your back hurts at some point in time, it just so happens that your back is going to get better. Like it's more very favorable that your back's going to get better. And I'm not like discrediting our profession even a little bit, like in any sense, but I think that we downplay how adaptive our bodies are in a lot of ways, if that makes sense. So you don't necessarily need to be fixed. You just need to put your body in the right environment under the right stressors so it can heal itself. And that's what we help people do. So we will do the stretches, we'll do the soft tissue massage, we'll do the mobilizations, but our bigger goal is to change your lifestyle, your habits, your perception of your body, and so that it heals itself, right? If that makes sense. Because like even if you're coming to us as a physical therapist, you're only seeing me once, maybe twice a week. That's like an hour out of your week. That's not going to be enough to change anything long term. So we have to get people to implement these things on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, regularly, consistently, so that this stuff happens over a long period of time and sticks, not just wipes the pain away temporarily, like Band-Aid fix, but really changes the way you live, the way you feel, and everything like that.
No, that makes perfect sense. So maybe one follow-up to that, because I think that, what you've touched on is probably a issue that, a number of businesses hit across the, a lot of difference, particularly in service providers, which is the client or customer or client's expectations or potential expectations versus what is reasonable or what's doable oftentimes don't necessarily align, or at least not at the onset. So when you're kind of having people come in that are looking more for that, fix or quick fix or looking for you to solve things, how do you realign or address those expectations so that they are more reasonably aligned with what you're able to offer?
Yeah, this is a big challenge, and it's something where you have to address kind of eloquently because if someone's coming in and saying like I need XYZ, like some people will really say, "Oh, I need this like trap massage or a massage in a certain area," and you can't like totally dismiss them and tell them that's like they're wrong and that's not what we're here for, but you have to kind of guide them in that direction and lead them that way and talk about why. And like a lot of times it's really simple in the sense that like, hey, that type of thing can help, but it's more of like a band-aid solution, a short-term fix, than it is a long-term solution. So you're gonna end up coming back to me forever because it's not really fixing the root of the problem. And so I think it also comes with how we present ourselves and this information. So one of the unique differences about our clinic is we're based out of our own gym, right? So when you walk in, we're in this like treatment room, evaluation room. It's like any other PT clinic, but then you go out and it's like a gym, right? There's squat racks and 50 yards of turf and people working out. And it's like, it kind of sets the tone of, okay, maybe I'm not just going to get like sit here and things done to me, like I'm gonna have to work, right? And so it's this environment that creates this expectation of, okay, we're gonna get after it a little bit, and there's some things I'm gonna have to do outside of this as well. I think if you walk into, and I don't know if you've ever been to PT, Devin, but you walk into most traditional PT clinics and you walk in and it's like carpet from the 80s, it hasn't like been cleaned out, dumbbells that maybe go up to like 10 pounds, and then the bands, right? Everyone always thinks of physical therapy and the bands. And this thing is like, I think it breeds this idea of, okay, this is going to be super passive. It's going to be easy. They're going to give me like a couple stretches on a piece of paper and then send me on my way. And we get a lot of people who think that's who we are and what we do. And then we go through the stuff and talk about why we do it, like what this is really going to look like and how you can be successful. I think it automatically starts to change people's perspectives a little bit on what PT really looks like.
That makes perfect sense, and that's always, I think, something that you have to, as a primarily as a service provider, but or to a degree with both, is that when you're dealing with, some of the different customers and clients that have different expectations, setting that realistic expectation or kind of what that, what that might look like or what they should expect, doing that on the front end and doing that forthright helps to be a better or more successful outcome because then they're not expecting you to deliver or do something that from the onset, isn't within your capability or isn't within your your expertise. And so I think that definitely is a good guidelines or good thoughts and feedback for how you might approach that. So now if you're to say, okay, you look at a couple of things, you set the expectations, you kind of help people understand, this is a guide and to help you heal your own body, but it's not going to do that. One of the other things is and you touched on a little bit, you got both preventative as well as if people have had surgeries or injuries or other reasons why they're coming to you. But kind of how do you help people again understand kind of what or when they need to approach or physical therapy or kind of when's the right time and also kind of when is it over what in other words it's not an open-ended you're going to be doing physical therapy for the next 50 years of your life and you're going to see me on a weekly basis, but to set those goals for when they've accomplished or attained what they should set out to do, kind of so kind of how do they know when to start and how do they set realistic goals as far as how to finish.
Yeah, the how to start thing is still something we're battling with, and I think it's a perpetual battle because it's largely understood as this reactive last resort type of thing. And so I think part of that issue is just an issue of ignorance and unawareness. And so people in Ohio specifically, I mean, a lot of states across the country are what we call direct access states. Okay. And that means that you can walk into our clinic today, right now, and be seen, right? You don't need a doctor referral from your primary care physician. And so this is just like a wildly foreign idea for a lot of people that I can skip going to the doctor and just come right to the physical therapist where I'm going to end up anyways. And so what we're trying to do from the starting position is educate people to where they understand you can save weeks, maybe months in some cases of scheduling out doctor's visits. You can save a lot of money because a lot of times people will require like some imaging or a specialist referral and time before you end up most of the time where those people end up in physical therapy anyways, where you can say, okay, I can just go see the physical therapist. I can get evaluated. I can start talking about a plan and putting in the work, skip those other steps and other energy resource sucking things. And then if there is something that like you are serious and you really do need more referral and more expertise, like we'll send you the doctors, right? We are trained to do that and find those red flags. So we're trying to show people that you can skip all this crap and just come right to us to get help. And then to know if that's even you, the easiest answer is for me to say, if you are having any level of pain or you're unable to do the things that you want and love to do, that's too much pain, right? Like if you're dealing with some shoulder pain or some back soreness, like that's life, right? Life is going to happen. We experience pain on an everyday basis, but if it is keeping you from things you want to do or love to do, that's probably too much, and you probably need to talk to someone. Right. And not every bout of physical therapy is going to be a 6 month process, right? We sometimes see people twice and they're good. But I think for people, if they're wondering, do I need physical therapists? What would that look like? Just ask yourself, like, are you in any sort of pain or are you unable to do anything you love? probably enough to see a physical therapist. And then just like thirdly, if you want to understand your body better, probably for you, right? Like you can go to a personal trainer, but there's amazing personal trainers out there, but really you only need like a weekend online certification course to teach personal training, right? Like you need a 7-year degree to teach physical therapy. So we can really help you understand your body like through and through what it needs, how to keep it healthy. And that's also something that I think, if someone's out there saying like, I want to know more, I want to feel prepare more, that's also a good reason. And then the second question was, can you just remind me, Devin?
Yeah,
Oh,
second question was kind of on the other side of if people, want to set goals or expectations, hey, I don't want to be doing physical training or physical therapy for the next, 50 years of my life.
yeah.
How do they reasonably know when they've accomplished things or, kind of when things have reached a conclusion to where,
Sure.
they can move on to the next phase or to the next area of their life?
Sure. Yeah, I think in on average, we work with most people probably like 6 to 8 weeks and stretching on both sides of that. Um, just depending on how much care they need and how much support they need and how much pain they're in, how bad their injury is. All these things will influence how long we work with people. But there's a couple sides to this. And this is maybe we always joke about this. This is like a terrible business model, but we always tell people we want to see you as little as possible. Like we fully understand that going to the doctor sucks. Like it sucks. Just scheduling appointments and like makes it coming out of the middle of your day. And oh, man, I really want to be in this like Pilates class, but I have to come to the doctor instead. Like it stinks. We get it. And like we're not like some super cheap thing either. And so we always tell people our goal is to see you as little as possible. In the nicest way possible. Uh, our goal here is to not just give you exercises, but to give you the tools and the equipping and the empowerment to know how to deal with this on your own. Right. So when you leave, when you finish or like discharge with us, we try to give all of our patients this understanding of, okay, if this happens again, or if something similar happens again, I at least have some framework, some understanding of how to deal with it. And that
No.
that in and of itself is like very empowering to people, but it also leads them to like buy in a little bit more, to trust a little bit more because, oh, you're not trying to rope me in for a lifetime deal of physical therapy, which some other professions in healthcare do. All right, I won't name any names. Chiropractic does this a lot, but but like our goal is to get you back to what you love and to not just keep you in this system over and over and over again. And so I'd say on average 6 to 8 weeks, we try to get people out and like give them back their health as quickly as possible as they can own that stuff. And then we have to actually have some people who just stay on this like lifetime retainer, right? So they'll come in once a month just for a checkup or a tune-up or like I've got these new goals or I'm really trying to do this new thing. And they'll come probably the rest of their lives because we've had such success and it's good to have a coach and support and things like that. So there's no one right answer, but you can come as little as one or two times and as much as the rest of your life. It's really whatever you need.
So now maybe just one follow-up, and it's not necessarily something we touched on prior to the chatting, but came to mind as you're kind of talking through that. I mean, certainly, so I do a legal practice, help a lot of the startups and small businesses with patents and trademarks and other things, and always convey that we strive and offer expertise and otherwise provide guidance on things and things that just everybody has their different areas of expertise and
Sure.
can provide value. On the other hand, people are right or wrong or indifferent. We're in a generation or a period of time where people are in, a 5 minute YouTube expert, and every time you
Yeah.
watch it for a few minutes, and everybody now knows exactly the same thing as somebody that's gone to school for a number of years and been, having a lifetime of experience. And yet, on the other hand, sometimes there are, some initial resources or things that people can, come or get a bit of understanding or learning or be a bit more educated. And oftentimes, being more educated on a given topic will help them to better appreciate and understand the value you bring. But if people were to kind of say, hey, if I'm experiencing or considering, maybe some physical therapy or wanting to get a bit of assistance or aid, but not necessarily wanting to do full-time, physical therapy, or otherwise having to go through that exercise, at least not yet. Are there any resources or areas that they could look into or otherwise consider when kind of working to, kind of improve their life or their mobility or reduce their pain or those type of things are outside of physical therapy?
Yes, but I'm going to answer this carefully because I think this is, I mean, you highlight a huge problem in our industry of internet experts and a misunderstanding of the human body. Because what happens a lot is people will say, man, my knee is really hurting. I'm going to go on YouTube and type in knee pain exercises, right? And they'll
Sure.
find some stuff, they'll try it, maybe works, maybe doesn't. Who knows? Is it going to hurt you? Probably not. But not all knee pain is the same knee pain, right? Not all back pain is the same back pain. And if you're just typing back pain exercises, you're going to get this wide variety of things that, maybe this thing over here is what you need, but this thing's the complete opposite of what you need. And who's to say what exactly do you pick? And so it is such a challenge with that. Like one of my favorite examples is, man, we had this runner and he had gone to three different therapists before coming to us. And he had some knee pain that was keeping him from running. And he could get like 1 or 2 miles in, and then it got too bad and he had to stop. And it went to all these therapists and did all these things, and they all were working at his knee, working on his knee. But I realized that, like, okay, we got to zoom out and look at the whole body here. And we looked at his hips, his back, and his feet. And what was happening is his toe was the problem, right? And it was causing a really big restriction to where he couldn't run the right way. And because his toe wouldn't bend the way it needed to, it put undue stress on his knee, right? And so all these people were focusing on his knee, but they needed to look at his toe. And so even if your knee hurts and you type in knee pain exercises, you may not need to work on the knee even, right? So you get like this big problem of, is the knee pain or the knee exercise specific to your knee pain, or is it just generalized? And then do we even need to be working on the knee? And so I think I need to outline that problem first before saying like, yeah, you can go online and look on exercises and have some type of effect or positive outcome on your knee or your back pain or whatever. But I think by doing that, we're feeding into the problem of like this generalized, unspecific approach to healing and therapy and trying to like bypass this like direct access support system. And so like there's a couple guys like the prehab guys or like I know Squat University has been really popular recently for people looking to get some like at-home rehab advice. Like I know that knees over toes guys was so big for this at-home knee rehab stuff, and there is some value to those things. It's just right as it's like, is it for knees in general or is it for your knees and your problem? I think eventually I'd love to create some kind of deeper, more nuanced education system for online portal for people to have access and not just have this generalized approach. But I don't know what that looks like yet, and we haven't delved into that quite yet. So, check back in a year or two, and maybe we'll have some stuff there. But I think that answers your question. I'm not too sure.
Yep, no, I think that's a great answer. I don't know there's an easy answer to it. And I think, it's one where, it's a balance. If you tell people, hey, just go in and search, Google search or go to YouTube and look up knee exercises,
Yeah.
it's not always going to, suit them. On the other hand, it's kind of like what I experienced in the legal field, which is people are going to do it either way. And if all we
Right.
do is
Right.
say, don't do it or, or ignore the what people are doing, it
Right.
doesn't solve the problem. All it does is it simply makes it so people are going to go do it anyway and probably do it or improperly or have
Yeah.
do potentially do as much harm as good. So it's kind of that balance. But no, I think that was a great thoughts and feedback on that. Well, now as we kind of do wrap towards the end of the episode, if people, or I guess before we get to how people can reach out to you, I always do like to wrap up with one question. So we're going to jump to that now. So, which is, and you maybe start to touch on it, or there's another one, but within your industry, what is the biggest myth and why is it wrong?
Mm. I think the biggest myth is that we are fragile. And I think we can go deep with this, but we don't necessarily need to. The sense that we're fragile. And I think a few things stem from this. Like, I brought up chiropractic. Like, I have so many chiropractic friends, people I trust, people who do great work. But I think as a whole, there's this holistic, this big problem that we can like crack you back into place, or you're out of alignment, you're back in alignment, right? Similar to this mechanic problem. And, oh, your back is a little shifted. Now it's not, right? And I think if that were the case, it'd almost be looking at us like we're made out of Play-Doh, right? And we can just wiggle things and move them, or like get it to mold into a specific position that we really like. And I always like laugh when people speak like this. I'm like, what do you think happens to football players or hockey players when they come into these like big collisions? You'd think that their bodies are just like all out of alignment, right? And so if we understand the body as this thing that's so fragile, and we can just like crack it into one position or the other, like, man, we'd be in some big doo doo if like you play any type of sport or any type of physical endeavor, right? And so, uh, can alignment and things be like a contributing factor? Sure. But it doesn't necessarily work in the same way. We're like, oh, yep, this is just rotated a little bit. Let me crack it back into place. And I think it just feeds into this idea that we're fragile, and that, any little bit of pain or injury is something that, or maybe not even pain or injury, even any little bit of like asymmetry, or maybe one side's higher than the other, or one muscle is bigger on the other side, and like things like that it will lead to brokenness, and it'll lead to pain, it'll lead to injury. And just research far and wide just shows that's so untrue, and just not, it doesn't happen like that. I mean, like, people lift uh, Olympic lift with one leg. People can like live pain free with one limb on, you know what I mean? Like, if that were the case, we'd be in some, again, some doo doo, because like we're not that fragile. And so I think the biggest myth is that we're fragile, that we can't handle different forces or exercises. Like, our bodies are so adaptable that we can handle a lot of stress, and we can heal in a lot of ways. Like, from big injuries to small injuries, we can heal, and we just need to put them in the right environment, and they're under the right stressors, and feel supported and confident along the way. And I think this is what we try to do for people day in and day out, is show people that they're strong, they're resilient, give them the emotional, spiritual support that they need, and they get better. You know what I mean? Like, that they know
Awesome.
they're not
No, that
alone,
definitely.
and
Yeah, no,
they can
oh,
get
go
through the
ahead.
stuff.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think that's a great myth to dispel, and some great insight on that. So, well, now as we do wrap towards the end of this episode, if people do want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, like all of our contact information, hopefully you can link it to this episode, but if you just Google Elevate Human Performance, you'll find us. We're just on the east side of Columbus near Bexley. Elevate Human Performance. We've got a huge facility there. We're on Instagram under elevate.pt.performance. Our email address is contact@elevateptperformance.com. And we'd be happy to talk with you, work with you, show you how to live a healthy life, and get back to the things you love, and feel like the healthiest version of yourself again.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So,
Let's go.
with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you other listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveunicorn.com. apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Kevin, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.